we have, I don't know if it's the majority. I don't know if it's a minority. I don't know if it's like a small amount of politicians that are just in really powerful roles, but some of our representatives are completely captured by these lobby groups that finance their campaigns. So the distributors and the pharmaceutical companies that finance the campaigns and then deploy the lobbyists to educate them on things like hemp, they're demonizing hemp and conflating it with illegal synthetic gas station drugs that are currently being labeled as hemp because there's not enough regulation to prevent them from doing that. When if any reasonable person would look at the situation and be like, yeah, adults should be able to use clean, reasonably dosed cannabis products. It's insane to say that they can't.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Pints and Professionals. I'm your host, Ramon Mejia, and I didn't know what I was getting into when I DM'd Madison Wickham to come on this podcast. Madison is an entrepreneur and has been a business owner here in the Austin, Texas area for quite some time. And I wish I could have recorded our 15-minute conversation after the podcast ended because that was just filled with so much wisdom and ideas and motivation for me to keep doing what I'm doing. Madison is just, man, he's such an awesome dude, and I can't thank him enough for coming along. And without further ado, here's Madison.
I mean, it's one business. We have essentially two brands.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But in the video that I saw in which you were sticking it to our governing officials, or just explaining your side of the story, you said you've been a business owner for like 15 years, right?
I've been doing entrepreneurial businesses since really the beginning of my career. I started out, graduated from college, tried different things. It didn't quite work out and bounced from entrepreneurial endeavor to corporate job. And then when I was 25 in 2010, I started my first company that actually worked. Oh,
and what was that?
That was a comedy website called TotalFratMove.com, which...
You're the guy.
Yeah.
You're one. Yeah. Holy crap. Okay. I didn't know that.
Familiar.
Holy yes, very familiar.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. Well, so there's one of two reactions. It's either that or I just get a blank stare. Because it was like a hyper niche sensation on college campuses for a very particular block of time.
Right, but it was. I saw it on occasion from my phone. I'm like, oh, they got some funny stuff on there. That's fascinating.
Well, it was early internet. It was before the internet was a crowded place where there was just nonstop 24/7 and endless stream of content. Right. It was early social media. The iPhone was like 2 years old, I think, and when we launched the website, only 10% of our traffic was mobile, 90% was desktop traffic.
Wow. A lot of people not doing,
just for context of
a lot of people not working at the office. They're just on Total Frat.
Yeah. Totally. But yeah, so that was a crazy roller coaster of an experience.
Sure.
I'm assuming we're going.
Oh yeah, for
cool.
sure.
Okay.
Come on, man. I'm a little. This might be low key, but I am a professional of some sorts. And so like that took off. The idea behind that? How did that come to be? Total Frat Move.
So I actually just recorded a podcast with my friend Ross Bolin, and he was the first guy that we brought on board.
Okay.
I started it with my buddy Ryan, and then we just did kind of like the extended history of it all, since we were both there the entire time. But the essentially I have a background in web development, design, and I was working as a front-end developer at a tech company here in town, and my buddy called me with the idea for a website called TotalFratMove.com, and his pitch was, have you ever heard of he was basically like, the website Text From Last Night and FML, these one-liner comedy sites, what if we did the same thing but TFM? And it was kind of one of those pretty instant. We were both like really into the idea, and I had just built a website with WordPress and kind of had built up enough skills to actually build a website myself. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I have a lot of good ideas, but they come later in the evening when I'm praising Jaws, the kids like to say. So when you came up with this idea, did you start telling people, hey, this is what I want to do? And what was their reception? Or this is what we want to do?
No. We did not tell anybody.
Okay.
It was, my wife knew, and that was it. And we kept it totally under wraps.
Okay. What was your wife's thoughts on this?
She's very supportive.
Okay.
So, she was the thing is I was working as a front end web developer. And it was early in my career, so it was a good job, but it's not like I was crushing it comp wise at that point. I was 25, but I had hit a point where I was like, all right, well, first of all, we started the website while I was still working that job, so like we launched it, and then it was kind of like an instant. Within a couple months, we had hundreds of thousands of people visiting the site.
How does that? How do you explain that?
I've thought quite a bit about the reasons why it worked, and then also the reasons why it was eventually a catastrophic failure. And I now have this belief that the only thing that actually works, if you're creating things, if you're making music, if you're making a podcast, if you're making a piece of clothing, the only thing that actually works is being super truthful and authentic and telling the truth, essentially, which can be faked. And there's a lot of stuff out there that is it is the facade of truth. It's some artwork that somebody copied from something they found on Pinterest, right? Where the original artwork was truly inspired and authentically created by the person who created it. But then, the Aztec pattern on the pillow at Target is designed by somebody in a gray cubicle trying to get home, So there's a lot of uninspired stuff out there, and there's things that are uninspired, but they are kind of knockoffs of things that were inspired.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, like, authenticity and truth is what resonates with people and cuts through the noise, and you can fake it. But I think that we're actually going to have less of an ability to fake authenticity as technology keeps progressing and AI takes care of making all the fake stuff.
Yep. That's part of my every Thursday I go to this networking meeting that I'm a part of, networking group, and it's called BNI. And we have to give 30-second elevator pitches. And as a videographer, my thing is like, it's about authentic storytelling. It's about the authentic story in your own personal company or business or, personal life that's going to really attract the viewership, really attract the audiences. It's going to start out slow. You're not going to be you're the caveat, but you're not going to be an overnight success. You have to continually tell those authentic stories, and then maybe you'll get some audience and viewership. But at the end of the day, if you're just being honest with yourself and telling authentic stories, then you're going to feel good either way.
Yeah, and it's like the thing that I'm 40 now, and I started that website when I was 25, and like I said, I think it worked because it was such a realistic representation of. It's an absurd thing that exists, fraternities, right? It's these, it's a bunch of kids that pool their parents' money together to rent a mansion in the middle of campus and throw giant parties.
What could go wrong?
Right. And so it's like this absurd thing that exists. And when you are in a fraternity, it's like you recognize how absurd it is, but you're also basking in the glory of it. And it's the same types of guys on every college campus in the country making the same jokes, wearing the same things, listening to the same music, going to the same types of bars. So it's truly like living this. It's like living the stereotype, but doing it with a level of self-awareness that you're doing it, but you're just like, yeah, but it's fucking awesome. And so that was kind of like the mentality of it. And it's just the perfect breeding ground for comedy, right? So I think just perfectly captured the essence of that like inside joke humor amongst that type of guy, which resonated with military guys and guys on baseball teams sitting in the dugout.
Just guys being idiots altogether.
Locker room talk.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, it was, and that was what's wild though, is like, that was the foundation of the business, and which from the very beginning, it was kind of built on this rotten core where there was no purpose beyond, we think this is funny. And also it was like, it kind of evolved from this self-aware joke to kids taking it too seriously. And then it just became this thing that was like glorifying binge drinking and the party lifestyle, which there's in my journey from starting at 25 to the company completely imploding to where it was, we were 50 employees. And then at the end, it was me and Ryan who started it, and just kind of like figuring out how to sell off assets to pay for debt.
And you went down with the ship.
Totally down. I went down with the ship.
Good for you, Captain.
It smashed me into the ground. And then this new business kind of was emerged from the ashes.
I did, man. I don't know what it was. We were in conversation, but then I heard something like, and forgive me for saying this, but there was like a reference to, oh yeah, that bombed just like Total Frat Move. And I'm like, I remember that back in the day, but I don't know that. I felt like I just kind of grew out of that social media page.
Totally.
So I just never checked into it.
It was like a fleeting, it was almost like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Right. So because it was like early meme style content, right? Like pre-memes.
Yeah. So I'd never really thought of it as, oh, this thing failed. So what happened? What caused the failure?
So
if you're comfortable talking
absolutely,
about it. Okay.
Yeah. So like I said, we launched it, built a really passionate audience, giant passionate audience very quickly. Essentially had kids on every college campus in the country sitting on the website, commenting, submitting content, sharing it. It was a lot of deep engagement, right? Which is kind of the how you'd put value to content, like how strong is the engagement? How much do people really care about what you're making? So people really, really, really were into it. And what that did is it created this outlet for us where we could just launch companies. So me being very naive and having no experience managing and growing and scaling a business, I looked at it as like, oh, we can build like a mini Disney where it's like we have content that we then use to get exposure on products, and we do events, and it was like this grand idea of what we could do with the power that we captured with TFM. And so we ended up launching a lot of different businesses. And at our peak, it was 3 different media brands, 2 different, we had a clothing brand that we sold in 600 plus retail stores around the country and did big e-commerce. We had a men's online boutique called Man Outfitters that we curated product from 80 different clothing brands like Patagonia and North Face and like these bigger brands, and then also like smaller up and coming brands. And then we had a podcast network where we recorded like 20 shows a week. It was like absolute chaos. And everything worked. We were able to keep launching things because we had a New York Times best-selling book. We did a movie. There's a movie called Total Frat Movie on Tubi, I think. And so it was like this crazy, powerful channel that we had built with the content, but it was eventually we were doing so many things with one team, despite a big team. It was just impossible to do any one of those things well. Yeah. But then the other big problem is there was no like fundamental purpose or reason for why we were doing any of it. It was like these grand ideas of like, I just want to build a big company. Because when I was younger, I thought that the goal was to make a lot of money. So that's what I was chasing. And I almost had it, and then it just slipped out of my hands.
So you grew very fast and you had all these elaborate ideas, and then eventually you just couldn't manage those ideas, right?
Well, it was more just, it was total mismanagement of the strategy, because the strategy, everything is downstream from like a purpose. Like you got to have a greater purpose than self-serving things like making a bunch of money or like fantasies of like a big fucking mansion on the lake. Like whatever like superficial motivations I had that were driving me, like it wasn't the right, like it's not strong enough to keep you pushing when it
keep you
tough.
motivated as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm thinking about my college days and the time that I spent on that website, and I just remember total frat move and the Jaeger bomb video that we all kept. Do you remember that video? It was the
Not
Jaeger bomb.
specifically.
It was kind of like a poking fun at Jersey Shore.
Where did you go to school?
Texas State.
Oh, so did I.
Yeah. So,
what year?
That's a good question. 2011 I was a 5th year senior, working on my doctorates, but not really. God, I think it was 2010 to 2012. I
Cool.
believe.
Okay. Yeah, I
When were you
graduated
there?
in 2007.
Okay. Was it still Texas State or was it Southwest Texas State?
My freshman year was the first year it was Texas State.
Okay. All right. And so you grew up in Texas, right? Native born?
Yeah, I was born in Austin.
Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What did your parents do for work?
So my mom stayed home with us, and my dad had a residential window cleaning company called Sun Window Cleaning.
Okay. So he's kind of like a businessman entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, he was more like a musician that had a skill of washing windows, and so he used to just wash windows when we were real young, and then he hired his musician buddies, and they just drove around in a van and cleaned windows at like fancy houses all around town.
Okay. Was he also a musician?
He was a musician.
Okay.
Yeah.
What instrument?
His primary instrument is harmonica. Actually, he plays blues harmonica.
Blows the heart.
But he plays all of them, and he's also like a engineer minded. You know, loves recording. And he's made multiple albums in a garage like this growing up.
Was that kind of the idea, and where your current company is now? Like, hey, let's put in a musical aspect to it.
I mean, that it's so.
Are you also a musician?
No, I am not. I'm
right.
just a huge fan of music.
Okay.
And obviously, you know, it was one of those things that growing up, I was actually always envious of my dad's musical talent, because it's such a clear demonstration of his creative abilities, right? And I always thought of myself as a creative person, but I didn't really like know how to clearly demonstrate my creativity, and I just kind of like did a lot of different things, which ultimately made me good at the early stage entrepreneur stuff, because I can do a lot of things myself.
And so what'd you go to school for? Website design at Texas State?
No, actually psychology.
Psychology. Okay.
Yeah.
What made you want to pursue that?
I originally picked business, and then through a conversation with my buddy Ryan, who I ended up starting TFM with, but this was like back when we were roommates in college. I can't remember the exact context, but we were just talking about it, and we were like, man, fuck business. Psychology is the only thing that's actually interesting. And then I changed my major. It was something along those lines. I can't remember exactly.
Okay. And so you graduated. What did you do after college?
It was just kind of bouncing around. I had a job. Me and one of my two of my friends from high school started a cell phone resale business, where my buddy Blake, all through college, figured out this system for buying and selling cell phones on eBay. And it was back when you'd get like renew your contract and you get an iPhone for $100.
Okay.
Right. So somebody would get an iPhone for $100, and then they would go to sell it when it's used, and they're like, oh, well, I only paid $100 for it, so I'll sell it for $50. And so there was like a certain percentage of people listing on eBay, because there were so many people listing phones on eBay that there was a certain percentage of them who would just have no idea what it's worth. But an iPhone on the resale market is worth like $350 back then or whatever. So he would sit there and just refresh the new listings, and he had in his head, he knew like hundreds of cell phone models, makes and models in his head, and like what they were worth, exactly what he could resell them for. So we would just sit there and buy cell phones all day, and then immediately once they came in, check them, make sure they were like as described, and then resell them. And he was making really good money as a college student.
Okay.
And
I would imagine that job seems very, while it might be lucrative up front, but I'm immediately bored. Like that's what your job is. Like
boring.
just
yeah. So the idea then was like, well, let's build a website where you could go enter the make and model of your phone. And so like he was our initial database of all of that info, and then we literally put it in a database
in the noggin, bud.
And created this website called cycledcells.com. It's a terrible name, but it was like it was go sell your cell phone for cash. And there was like maybe one or two other websites doing that at the time, and we had no clue what we were doing. So I worked on that for like 10 months or a year, and then went and got a job with a tech company.
Okay.
Prior to that, I worked at a home building company right before the 2008 housing crisis.
Okay.
And then that company went under, and I got laid off.
What did you have any jobs during college?
Yeah, I delivered pizzas for Papa John's all through college.
Okay.
And then I also had this job at an exotic game ranch in Creedmoor, Texas, that had hosted like charity events for nonprofits, and I was like on the crew that would run around and like empty the trash cans.
Oh, okay.
And then,
all right. I was about to ask if you were like a hunting guide.
No. And then that family also would pay us sometimes to go sit in the middle of the landfill with a flare gun, because they are I don't even know. I'm not even supposed to talk about this.
Then don't say it.
Yeah, it was a weird job where sometimes I would just sit in the middle of a landfill for, all day.
Wow, and you got paid to do that. Interesting. Wow, you've led a really interesting life. In college, I just worked at Telenetwork. That was really big in San Marcos. I don't know if you're familiar.
Is that Grande?
No, Telenetwork was just like a tech support company that outsourced its services to people who had dial-up connections and DSL modems, and God, it was a nightmare. Just dealing with old people and trying to get them on the internet was I did that for 3 years, so I think I tested my patience.
Got to be lots of good lessons in that.
Yeah, just a lot of customer service. Like it taught me how to be have a better temperament with customer service reps, because I was just eating shit all day for a 4-hour shift, and that's a brutal role. I think everyone should have to do some sort of and other people have said this. You need to do some sort of customer service, just so you have an idea of the bullshit that they have to go through.
Agreed.
So you were in landfills. When did you get married?
So my wife and I actually started dating sophomore year of college.
Okay.
So we've been together forever.
Been together quite some time.
And then it was one of those things that basically we moved in together after school, and we were like, yeah, we're going to get married. We're just waiting until, we're in some level of stability, and then our apartment burned down, and we had renter's insurance.
Was this in San Marcos?
This is in Austin.
Okay.
It was the apartment below us caught on fire, and the entire building burned down.
That sucks.
But I had just switched my insurance over from my parents, car insurance, and when I was switching it over, it was Allstate, and the rep was like, "Do you want to add renter's insurance for an extra $5 a month?" I was like, "Sure." And then I don't know how much longer after that, my apartment burned down, and literally total loss. So they ended up giving us a $20,000 check, and I took $5,000 of that and bought a ring.
Oh, look at you. Such a sweet guy. So as you've kind of gone on, when did the idea of THC provisions come along?
So that was that was around probably February or March of 2020, so early COVID lockdown.
Okay. Man, I was probably in Scotland on my honeymoon, and we were starting to hear rumblings of this thing called COVID.
Yeah.
So you had this idea coming about in the early stages of COVID.
Yeah, and it was kind of this idea that had been getting at me for a while. Like a year prior, I had started working on something similar, and I'd just been thinking about, like, you know, I learned a lot about apparel, and I'm a designer, and I've always like had a thing for clothing and fashion and whatnot. So it's as I'm winding down my last business, in this complete like existential crisis of like, what in the hell am I going to do? Like I made a little bit of money that allowed me to not be destitute, but like I needed to figure some shit out. Right.
Did you have children at this point?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a 14-year-old, and he was 10 days old when I quit my web development job to focus on Total Frat Move full time.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But again, my justification was like, if this doesn't work, then like we were already starting to see some like crazy traction. So I was like, I'm wasting away in this cubicle, and it's maybe a little premature to jump in, but what's the worst case? I just go get another fucking tech job. Right. It's like it was Austin, you know, there's plenty of
the booming
and I was
economy
confident
of Austin, Texas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, just being confident enough in my skill set at that point to where it's like I could go build websites for somebody if I have to. Still a bold, scary move, but yeah, it worked out for a while, and then it did not work out. And so that was around 2019. I was like more confused than I've ever been in my entire life. Like, what am I going to do?
And I'm not going to do math, but how old were you in 2019?
How old was I in 2019? You're gonna make me do math now?
You're the guest.
What year is it?
2025.
I was 34.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, I was 34.
Okay, 34. Yeah. All right. So that, because I run my own, media company or video photo company,
mm-hmm.
and I'm constantly waking up every day. I'm like, all right, well, nothing's burning down. I'm still able to pay my part of the mortgage. I'm still able to pay my bills. All right. But okay, what do I do now? So it's just a constant evolution of learning and just telling myself, everyone starts companies. It's okay, Ramon. You're not the only one to do this.
Yeah,
so
totally. And
do you want a beer, by the way? This show is called Pints and Professionals. I
actually don't really drink.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I?
Absolutely.
Okay,
right.
And
also I totally had a box of gummies and merch that I meant to bring, and then I ended up leaving from my house, so I got to get that too. You should come by and check out the space.
Yeah. It's a thought that counts. But
no, okay, it's reserved for you.
Okay, perfect. Well, I will definitely make the venture over there since you came all the way over here. So you're 34. You have this idea, kind of tinkering around. You're in your head about apparel. Well, what were the next steps?
Yeah, so I'd just been kind of the COVID lockdowns gave me this newfound appreciation for the hill country and Texas, and I was just kind of everything slowed down. It just like quieted everything, and I had this like just deep appreciation of all the places that I could be trapped. This is a pretty magical place to be trapped. And
very true.
I've grown up here, like sometimes things will just shift your perspective, right? It's like I'm born and raised here, and this COVID stuff just kind of like throws a giant wrench in the pace of everything, and kind of like quiets everything down to where it's like you can see things from a slightly different perspective. And it was just the perspective that I saw was like, this is incredible. And I have done nothing to deserve to be here. I was born here. I could have been born anywhere on the planet or not at all. And here I am, and it's magical and amazing. And and then that kind of led into me feeling creatively bankrupt and wanting to do something creative with my hands. So I just locked I hit a point where I was just like, I'm going to lock myself in my little shed office that I have in my backyard, and I'm going to force myself to sketch and to do digital design and just try to get some ideas. And through that process, I realized that the acronym for Texas Hill Country was THC, and thought that was awesome and hilarious. And then started playing around with this brand concept of THC provisions. And once I kind of like locked into that idea, it's like I started seeing like, okay, well, I think at the very minimum I could make an apparel brand that will allow me to feed my family.
Okay.
I know enough about the industry. I know how wholesale works. I know like I know
about the merchandise industry.
The like specifically apparel. So
okay,
like boutique apparel.
That's
so like we sell THC provisions products through stores like Tyler Sports and Whole Earth and some of these like multi-store chains in Austin, but then through a bunch of retail stores across Texas. And that's all like an industry that I learned building the first business. So with my particular skill set and interest, it was like, well, this is like a good way to one, sink myself into doing design work and designing not just the artwork, but the garments themselves and the colorways and the branding and the website. And like, I could just like dive into creating this vision that I had for this cool, unique hill country brand that had pro cannabis undertones.
Sure. Was it always an idea to put the pro cannabis undertones in your apparel company?
Totally.
Okay,
yeah,
so
that was the core concept. It came from a place of like also like the whole thing was just kind of born out of gratitude, like gratitude for this place that I just happened to be born into and was now trapped in to some degree, and then gratitude for cannabis. You know, growing up in Austin, it's like a very heavy drinking town. And that was my substance of choice as a delinquent teenager and into college.
I'm still a delinquent 37-year-old, but go on.
You know, I mean, people could drink responsibly. You know, there's nothing.
Yep.
It's a hammer, right? You know the analogy.
Honestly,
like,
I mean, I indulge. I praise Ja at night, but there's nothing better than just beers with the boys on a Thursday. And you just hit them with that. Hey, let's grab one beer. And then
it is, yeah.
It's so good. It's my favorite thing. But anyways.
I've found new things to replace that with that I enjoy more at this point.
As you should.
And cannabis was a big catalyst for that. And it's not that I smoke weed all the time. I actually use it less now than I did when I first started the company.
Okay.
And I think that's a testament to the fact that it really is medicinal. It really is therapeutic.
Sure.
And dealing with what I believe now to be PTSD from the first business in the early stages, because I went from building this media and apparel company, having a level of success where I was like, we fucking did it. We're done. I have accomplished like everything I could imagine accomplishing professionally, and I'm deeply satisfied with it, and I'm 0% jealous of anyone's situation, to the absolute worst case scenario happening that would like keep me up at night for years thinking that this is going to happen, right? And then eventually it happens, and it's just as psychologically painful as I imagined. But from that, a little bit of distance from that, I hit this point where I was like, oh, but everything's actually fine.
Was there ever in both the Total Frat Move or your current company, was there ever any level of jealousy of like seeing another company succeed within your industry?
That's an inevitable thing that
right.
Anybody who says they don't have that as an entrepreneur is just straight up lying.
No,
like
100%.
No matter what you're doing, and I've found this because I've gone into so many different weird niches, that every single time there's always like the same kind of cast of character businesses that are like, there's the one that's just like so impressive and inspiring. And you're like, I wish that I had the ability to make that, but I can't. There's the ones that are kind of on your level and you're like, fuck those guys. And it's like, you know, and then there's the ones that want to be on your level, and they're kind of like annoying because they're also like reflecting your insecurities about the things that aren't perfect about your shit. And it's just like, it's the same thing every single.
Good. I'm glad
create
someone else
anything.
Okay.
It's the same thing. You're going to find the same. Yeah.
And when did you get to a point of not being jealous anymore? Like, what was the catalyst for that feeling?
Well, so,
or are you still jelly of other?
No,
still peanut butter and jelly of those people
I'm very,
in Denver.
very, very content.
Okay,
right now. And I had almost like a false contentment with my first business when I said I hit like this peak where I was like, I've done it.
Yeah.
Because that was contentment on this really deep faith that we were going to be super successful, which is the wrong place to put your faith. So I grew up in Austin, and I grew up with a lot of friends that had way more money than I did. And so and then I also grew up with, you know, our family business was a residential window cleaning company where we were cleaning the fanciest houses in Austin. And over summers I would go work for my dad. So I'd be like washing the windows. There were instances where I had to wash the windows of my friend's house.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's gotta suck.
Yeah. So my that kind of, the perspective that gave me was like, what in the fuck are these people doing? Like, how is their shit so much nicer?
And how do I do that?
Mine?
Yeah.
And so I got obsessed with money and like the kind of status. Yeah, that's why I would even be in a fraternity in the first place, because it was like, these are the cool kids. I'm going to go be one of them. And so it was like this just obsession over like thinking that success was making a lot of money and then like showing people, you know, and I was never like fully bought into that, because if I was, I would have gone like, you know, and there's way easier industries to just make a lot of money if that's all you cared about. So it was never the only thing I cared about. I've always had a strong desire to create things, and I always have felt like I got things to say, and I want to create things that help me explain the things I want to say. And you know, and so I was kind of at this like hard to reconcile that with chasing money. Yeah. And that the inability to do that ultimately led to its demise. Okay. And then in 2019, like I said, I kind of hit this like fucking rock bottom, where from there it was like, well, I actually don't give a fuck about money in so far as it allows me to feed my family and give me this like beautiful life that I have, you know, whether it's, you know, humble or luxurious. Like it's all that really matters is, it reset what matters. And it's not like I had this moment where I was like, oh, now I understand what matters. It was just like, well, money's definitely not it. Money's definitely not it. It's an essential tool for,
I was just about to say that.
Yes. It's an essential tool, but it's downstream. It comes downstream from focusing on things that actually matter.
I remember in high school, I wanted the brand new Mustang that just came out. They changed over to a new body, and one of our classmates down in West Texas, in Alpine, Texas, had a brand new red Mustang. I'm like, that's what I want. And in order for me to have that, I have to make a shit ton of money. And then I drove to college in my 94 Honda Civic. I got my degree, and then I'm like, all right, let's get this Mustang. And then I saw the price tag, and I don't know, it was like probably 60, 75,000, way out of my budget. I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of okay with just driving a 94 Honda Civic. And as you saw in the driveway, I still drive a Honda Civic. It's 2012, 240,000 miles. And as long as it gets me from A to B, I'm okay with that. And I'd rather have, you know, I'd rather not have a car payment in a really nice car than than just be, you know, in debt. And so I love my 2012 Honda Civic. And being a business owner, I'm like, you know, as long as I'm able to take care of the bills, then money is kind of irrelevant. But on the other hand, I see what other videography companies are doing. I'm like, I'm so jealous. I want that. I see, what they're charging. I'm like, I want to get to that price point because I deserve it. But then again, I start thinking to myself, like, have you really earned that price point? Are you doing all the things that they're doing? And Ramon, honestly, you're probably not. So be content with your life now and then just work towards that goal.
Well, it's also, you're likely looking at companies that are at a further stage or have
exactly.
So I think it's good, particularly in the early stages, to look at other entrepreneurs that are building things that inspire you and to pull lessons and like strategy ideas and whatnot. But it's one of those things where it's like there's a fine line between copying somebody else's work and being inspired by somebody else's work, which I'm sure as a filmmaker you're hyper aware of that.
Very. And so when you thought of this apparel company, what was a differentiating factor that you thought would separate you from whatever competition that might be in the area or in Austin?
So this was after, man, I initially started it with this idea that the competitive landscape for t-shirts and hats is high. There are a lot of people making t-shirts and hats, right?
Yeah.
So I basically did not spend a single bit of time doing any type of like business school competitive analysis. Like I knew how the industry worked and I knew what I liked and what I didn't like. And I literally just made stuff that I was, have you ever heard of a book called The War of Art?
I've heard of it. I've never read it.
Oh, dude, you need to read it.
Okay.
Every creative person needs to read it. It's so good.
Okay.
That was definitely one of the catalysts that like, it was the catalyst where I was like, fuck it. I'm going to set up my office to be conducive to do creative work. And then I'm going to force myself to sit down. Cause it's
much like this. This is what I wanted. Yeah,
exactly. You did like this is a beautiful use of garage space.
The workflow that I have coming home late night from a job, just unload all the gear, take all the footage, sit on my couch, put on a YouTube video, and then just go to work immediately. Yeah. And I get lost, and sometimes I'm here till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and other times I'm like, I just want to go to bed, so we're gonna go to bed at 9:30 p.m. But yeah, anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, and so like I said, I had the wrong goals, or my goals were too shallow. I hadn't figured out like what is the actual point here? What are we really trying to accomplish beyond like self-serving things? And so with this, I didn't quite have it clear from the beginning, but I had enough of a fuzzy North Star to keep me on track. And so my realization was that the only time I actually feel like, yes, I'm doing the right, like I know for sure every fucking cell in my body is telling me I'm doing the right thing right now. That is if I'm truly in like a creative headspace. If I'm, they call it flow state, whatever. It's like which is not a constant state. It's fleeting, but like if you do the right things to harness it, you catch those waves, right? And so designing stuff, having an idea in my head for a design and then trying to get it out, it's like it's mostly uncomfortable and filled with self-doubt, and then moments of divine clarity. And then like if you stick with it long enough, the end result is like, oh yes, there it is.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, it was like, well, I just want to spend as much time in that space as I possibly can. The only thing I actually like doing is making things. I begrudgingly market the things that I make. I would rather just make things and people be like, oh my God, the things you make are so awesome. You don't even need to market them. I'm just going to come buy them. But that's wishful thinking, right?
For sure. Yeah.
You have to market it. But like what really fucking fills me with energy is having an idea and going through the fucking grueling process of drafting until eventually it's like, there it is. And it's so satisfying. When it's like a physical thing, you know, it's just it's very satisfying.
Right. And so putting all that energy into this concept, what was the first like real moment of, oh my God, this is working? Like our apparel is connecting with individuals with an audience.
That's a good question.
Was there a moment?
You know, I started by just posting random. I started by posting a couple random videos of like different places that I'd been throughout Texas or whatever, and I was just kind of treating it like my own personal Instagram, but I was hiding behind this THC Provisions brand. So I was doing like Instagram stories and stuff of like fucking grilling in my backyard or sitting in a hammock or whatever. I was just like, I was trying to capture the whole idea of Texas Hill Country Provisions as a brand is like bottle up all of the really unique, awesome aspects of Texas and the Hill Country into a brand that authentically represents this place, right? And so it's not the gas station style fuck you if you ain't from Texas type Texas gear, right? It's like, it's stuff that, you know, Willie Nelson, you know, the vibes of Austin are strong. The vibes of the Hill Country are strong. And so, where were we going with this? I thought I felt like I was driving towards a point.
No, dude, the point was like, I even forgot it too. But the main concept of the question was like, what was going to separate you from the competition since you're just in a
I mean, I think I just had like my first leg of my career was such an insane crash course in all of this that I didn't even realize like in the beginning how much I had learned. Right. It's like, it was kind of just such a whirlwind and roller coaster that, you know, I didn't realize how much I had learned and how many good relationships I had built.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, you know, in the darkest days, it was like, nobody's ever going to want to work with me again. You know, because we raised a bunch of money. A lot of people lost their fucking hard earned money.
Yeah.
You know, it was a dark place to reemerge from.
And the question where we kind of, you know, diverted was, when was there a specific moment when you realized that this is a real thing, this is going to work?
That's right. You know, once I started posting the artwork, it was getting like, despite having, you know, almost no following, it's not like they went viral, but like people were responding in a way where I was like, oh, they get it.
And this is all through social media,
through
Instagram? Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
And so I started by just posting like the illustrations or
was
whatever.
This from a blank account, or were you attaching an already?
No, it's completely blank. I did not use a single bit of anything.
Oh, so you didn't have anyone associated? You were the only one behind it.
And I wasn't even associated with it. I just did it under, like, I was not active on social media personally.
Yeah.
So it was just from 0 followers, and I started posting some Hill Country stuff and using hashtags and whatnot.
Okay.
And, you know, and then eventually like sent it to some friends, and I had a group of friends that I got really close with during COVID because we would do this weekly campfire where we all met up at our friend Tanner's place and sat around a campfire and talked for like 7 hours.
Oh, that's a great night.
It was every Thursday for a year and a half. So like we became, it's wild because we were all in our 30s, and you don't usually make like deep new friendships in your 30s.
Well, yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I'd say it's less common than when you're like a kid and you just sit around and got nothing to do but like talk to, you know, it's like where we know each other on such an intimate level. It's basically like we've all been going, it was like unintentional group therapy where we all just like spilled out everything and got to know each other really well.
I think that's why I'm such a big believer in just getting a beer with the boys, is because that's the only time like I get to really, we're so busy with our own lives. You know, these guys have kids and families. I'm just like, I'm sending out texts, hey, let's grab a beer somewhere, and whoever comes It's great, and we'll catch up. But
y'all should try a campfire.
A
with
campfire.
The boys.
We need. Well, we can
campfire
do
and some Topo Chicos with the boys.
Okay, Topo Chico. Well, maybe during dry January. That's when a lot of my buds like to try out.
That's a great campfire month too.
So when it comes to building an apparel brand, like this hat is by 5950 New Era, right? Mm-hmm. That hat is made by someone else. How do you place a value on just a hat? Obviously, I'm kind of leading the question here, or leading you to an answer, but it is the brand that makes the hat, right?
Yeah, and I think the brand is everything, right?
Right.
It's like, and really, if you're a creative entrepreneur, the brand's an extension of you, right? So it's like you have to get yourself in, like you have to know yourself well to make the type of, like the level of authentic artwork that you're capable of making. Like first you have to learn who you are.
Yeah.
And that takes, in my experience, it took me a very long time to really get over some underlying issues that were preventing me from being as much my authentic self as I'm capable of being now.
Right. So this is a DJ that I work for, Vincent Antone. So he buys these hats at a gross price, whatever. And then you slap a label on it. How do you get to a point where you can justify the percentage of charging that price? I'm not phrasing this very well, but like, let's say he pays $20 for this. In order for him to turn a profit, he adds another $10 to that price. Like, how do you adjust that percentage to make a profit?
Well,
to have an ROI, essentially.
It's kind of a long game with apparel. If you're if you're making it custom, it's really, really difficult to build a business if you're using off the shelf blank products from like the big blank suppliers.
Right. Because you're putting the emphasis on the brand itself to sell this product,
well,
right?
And you also it limits your, like the way that you can justify the price is to, one, have a brand that resonates with people, and then two, make sure that your product is of like an actual quality, right? That justifies the price. And so it's kind of a long process of getting an apparel, making the best stuff that you can early on, using maybe some blank providers, but finding like good niche options where it's good quality, and then making sure that you're spending a ton of time getting the artwork dialed and getting the colorways dialed and having the whole merchandise offering come off a certain way. It's like the brand is all the things that you're doing, and that's what will suck people into it and be like, oh, this speaks to me, so I want to wear this, right? And so that is a long process, and at this point we have enough order volume through the wholesale stores that we can work with really amazing direct cut and sew factories. So our hats are made in Vietnam and our shirts are made in Guatemala. Okay. And they're incredible factories, and we're able to, we design the artwork ourselves. We also design the garment specs themselves. So all of our hat silhouettes are custom, and we're using custom fabrics, and all the embellishments are kind of specified in detail. Right. So it's like a full-on clothing brand, essentially. Yeah, but that's great. But I'm just trying to like wrap my head around Prada for example. Like they make a bag, or no? Who makes like those Gucci bags? Like how is it priced? Yeah.
It's
so
like
it's completely
it's
made
just
up.
A bag.
Everything's made up.
It's just a bag. But then all of a sudden, these individuals, like you see celebrities walking around, and then all of a sudden the value just skyrockets.
Well, it's like beer or let's say vodka. Right, like it's a commodity. It's a commodity, and the only thing that matters is your brand. Yeah, it's like anyone that's like, oh, this is the best vodka. It's like, it's vodka. It's just it's fucking battery acid. Like, what are you talking about? It's the best vodka. Right, you're mixing it with some other thing that and so it's like that's how any. I mean, but the you can create the facade of an authentic brand, or you can actually be super authentic in everything that you do to create the brand, and then the brand, the authenticity of the brand is downstream from you and the people working on it, doing it authentically and earnestly and for the right reasons. And in my experience, the only way to do that and to keep everybody motivated and on the same page is to have a greater purpose than like, we all want to make a lot of money. Or even like, I struggled for the first part of the business with I had this idea of prioritize the creative integrity over any financial opportunity. And anytime there has been a financial opportunity that would potentially jeopardize the integrity of what we're doing, we turn it down. And so that has kept us on track, but I would wrestle with this existential question of like, but to what, like, what are we doing? Like, maintain the integrity of the creative to what end? Like, so we can just like, you know, have a creative jerk off in the hill country. Like, what is it that we're actually doing? Like this, how is this helping anybody but ourselves?
Yeah.
And then, Chill Country Sessions, the idea emerged. And I was wrestling with this idea of like what our content strategy should be, because we have the apparel, we have the cannabis products, and you can't advertise the cannabis products on social media. It's against their guidelines, so we can't run ads like we do for the apparel. And so initially, Sessions was like, oh my God, I think this is a really good content strategy that I'm very confident, knowing everything I know about content strategy, that this is going to work. And we already have the space. We had most of the equipment. We had to get some microphones, and then we had like a sign, and we had a permanent studio, and treated it like, the idea was like, it could be like a modern day press stop where we have artists come by, play a few songs and be on their way, and it won't be a big ask for them. Artists need good quality content now more than ever. And we're not going to
authentic quality content.
So one, we're not in the music business, right? So it's like, we have zero intentions of making any money off of the music. The only value that we're trying to extract from it is alignment of the Chill Country brand with these artists, which is very apparent. There's no like ulterior motive, right? We're not trying to sign anybody to anything. We're not trying to like get streaming rights. We actually have a plan to do some best of compilations from the sessions, put them out on Spotify and all the streaming platforms, but 100% of royalties go to artists.
Oh, good for you, man. That's awesome.
Which is like, you know, it's good for us, but it's also just like a win-win. It's like, the bigger we can build the Chill Country brand, the more people know about it. And then, but the significant thing that actually transpired from that is, as soon as we started doing them, and you know, we were a couple weeks, maybe a month in, had recorded but we're doing like 3 sessions a day sometimes. Oh man, and meeting so all of these artists, and a lot of them were just so grateful, and they were like, thank you so much. And I was kind of like, well, fucking thank you so much for coming out here and making content for us, right? So it was like this beautiful, like, real world win-win.
Yeah.
And then it kind of occurred to me for the first time ever in my entire life. I was like, well, maybe I like my particular skill set and this bank of resources that we're building, and my tastes and whatever, like maybe those ingredients could actually help a lot of people. Like, it's helping these people. Yeah. And then fast forward, you know, to now, we've recorded with hundreds of artists. Some of them have gotten some pretty significant opportunities because people saw their Chill Country session.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like this crazy thing where it's like, I was like, I can make some cool t-shirts that people like. I guess that brings a little bit of joy to people's lives or whatever. But then it was like, oh no, actually this whole thing has been this bundle of resources to give me deep creative fulfillment. Now we've got a small team of people. Everybody on the team is getting deep fulfillment out of their jobs. And now we're at a point where the resources are of a size that we can turn them around and share them with all these other creative people running around trying to figure out how they can avoid a gray cubicle as well, right? And so it was just like this, it was like this just realization, like, oh, this is a bundle of resources to help people, and specifically to help people do creative work. And how else could we do that? And the cannabis business is like downstream from that. It has its own mission, and I have a lot of deep beliefs on why I think cannabis is an absolute amazing alternative to so many things and can lead to actual, real, profound healing of the underlying issues. And so, but the resources that the cannabis business has the potential to generate for us and is currently generating for us, but like, you know, at like the wide-eyed version is like, oh my God, we could make a ton of money and use it to help so many fucking people, right? Which sounds cliche, but that's essentially what it's like. That's way more, it's kind of the only thing to strive for, is like everybody is this unique mix of skills and tastes and perspective. How do you use your own set of skills, tastes, and perspectives to push out as much good stuff into the world and like potentially help people?
You're leading me on a lot of tangents that I want to go directly to what I invited you here for. But one more question just about the business. And it was during the early stages of those design phases. Mm-hmm. How much money, if you had to put a percentage on a budget that you allotted yourself for designing, how much money did you not waste, but did you utilize to ideate and figure out what design works versus what doesn't work? Does that question make sense?
I literally did nothing analytical with the process. I locked myself in my office and I had an idea in my head, like legalize bluebonnet picking. Right? Like that was like the first phrase. And then I was like, okay, what does this look like?
Yeah.
Designed it. And then it's like, you get the colors right. And it's like, I just would just iterate on it until it was finally like, all right, that's it.
Got it.
And same with the apparel, where it's like I made 4 hats and I made 3 shirts, and I was trying to massage, and I designed a bunch of stuff, like some stuff not great, and then I basically cherry picked the best designs. And
what was the idea? What was the best design? Like, what was the things that made it the best design? I would say that it's like
it was just the ones where just my own tastes.
Okay.
Honestly, it was just me just being like, I like these the best.
And so if a certain piece of clothing sells out and the other part doesn't sell out, or you're like, oh, maybe those designs didn't work because of X, Y, and Z.
So that's not entirely true. I was picking the stuff that I liked.
You lying on me? No.
But I was also, I had several close friends that I would send stuff to, and their reactions to the things like would either confirm or, deny my personal beliefs. But so I was leaning on people whose opinions I respected.
Yeah.
But I was mostly going with like, I mean, it was like a solo project, right?
Got it.
And it was with the intention of, again, prioritizing creative integrity. So I was like forcing myself into that space.
Right. All right. We're well over an hour. Now we got to get into the good stuff. You sat for 16 hours at the Capitol. Is that right?
I did. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
One, did you have like a battery to power your phone? Because I can't fathom staying 16 hours in one place.
Yeah. How did I think it lasted, man. Those Apple batteries last.
Okay. Well, that's good. So in my recent,
I was mainly watching. I wasn't on my phone. I was watching the hearing, right?
Yeah.
Because it was 16 and a half hours. That's after
Jesus.
That was the second one. The first one was like 8 hours at the Senate.
Oh my God.
But I've never been politically active. I historically don't even read the news or really know what's going on.
Same.
Yeah. And so this was like a complete 180. It was essentially born out of my partner Chris discovering that we could go speak at the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
And our position prior to that was, we're aware of this. We have our beliefs about what we think is going on, and there's not anything we can do about it. So we're just going to keep building our business. If they tell us we can't make gummies here, okay, we'll either do something else or we'll build a kitchen out of state. It's like there's always moves. There's always moves to make. So I wasn't concerned for our business, and I don't spend at this point anytime worrying about things that are outside of my control. But then when it was like, oh, you can go speak at the Capitol, it was kind of this like, well, yeah, I don't care. I'm not concerned for my well-being or the well-being of my company, but there are millions of people across Texas who use hemp-derived cannabis products for all sorts of reasons, for recreation, as an alternative to other more harmful recreational substances. There's a lot of people using it as an alternative to pharmaceuticals. So there is just a ton of people that are getting real medicinal therapeutic benefits from these cannabis products, like the ones we make. And I have been building a hemp company for 5 years and have a unique perspective on it. And I've met with a lot of people in the industry and in the alcohol industry and the pharmaceutical industry. It would almost be kind of fucked up for me to not speak out against this. Sure. Right. And obviously I have a business interest, but I swear to you, it's like, I would love to not have to get involved with politics. I actually have some mild anxiety about the last 3 clips that I posted, because it's like, it makes me so mad, and I'm not an angry person. And now it's like, I've never really posted stuff of myself, like, despite having the opportunity, I've just kind of remained behind the scenes. And now, like, most of the stuff out there is like me be like with contempt talking about this political issue, when it's like, in reality, I'm just kind of like, I'm not concerned. However it plays out, it's going to play out, and then we're all going to adjust. It's not a big deal. But like, when I really start thinking about it, it makes me so mad that anybody has the ability to do this, because it's like, who are you? Like, why are you able to tell me that I can't do this? And that idea, as being like somewhat of a rebellious kid, it's like, I just hate somebody fucking telling me what to do. And in this instance, it's so backwards and so corrupt, the reasons why, that it just makes my blood boil.
Now, I first became aware of this issue from Marco Gutierrez, who's the one of the guitarists in West Texas Exiles. Yep. Actually, probably he has been on it.
We followed the Exiles out to West Texas and shot with our friends Slato Pictures, and they shot a music video for him.
And we were in the studio at Studio 601, and he brought this up. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I took a little deep dive into it, and one of the first things that came up was the video of you kind of testifying. And it's, as I did my research on the history of marijuana in Texas, it seems like just recently we're kind of coming into this, okay, it's not as bad, or actually laws are getting removed. I'm fucking this up, but it's not as, the laws of marijuana use are not becoming as stringent as they once were. Yes. And so all of a sudden SB3 kind of comes, I don't know, where does it come from? Why is it here? Why is it even in our legislative process?
I like to think about,
and please explain what SB3 is.
Sure. Yeah. Senate Bill number 3. It's a bill that effectively bans the entire hemp industry in Texas, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry and is making really good, clean products, clean, natural cannabis products that are helping a lot of people.
And it's being taxed too, right?
It's being taxed just like anything's taxed.
Right.
So it's generating tax revenue for sure.
Generating
and
money
could generate a lot more if it was just reasonably regulated.
Sure.
I have this thought when it comes to things like this, where it's like, there is some information that I know from firsthand experience, and then there's some information I know from secondhand sources. And so with this particular situation, it's like, my personal opinions on it are not definitively fact, right? It's like, I'm watching and piecing together what I think is happening. And this is coming from, 6 weeks ago. I didn't even know how the Texas legislative process worked. And so I'm getting this like crash course in how it works and who the reps are and whatnot. But from everything that I can gather and all of the people that I've talked to and this like crazy crash course that I've been on, it seems to me like the pharmaceutical lobbies and the alcohol lobbies are the ones who are financing this legislation here and also in states all across the country, that they are now coming to the realization that cannabis is truly threatening the monopoly that they have on these recreational substances and medicinal substances. And, you know, they can't control the plant like they can their primary products.
So basically, they fear it's going to hurt their revenue, and they want to.
It is hurting their revenue,
right? Yeah,
it is right now, and they're now seeing like, oh, this is actually. There are a lot of people that are moving from pharmaceuticals or moving from alcohol to cannabis, and we don't control cannabis, and we can't patent a plant, and we don't control the distribution of it like we do alcohol. And so it's the distributors, the alcohol distributors, and the brands themselves are all at the mercy of the distributors. The distributors are the ones with all the power, and they're the ones that wield the regulatory system, the 3-tier system that allows them to essentially like get paid every step of the way, which it's my understanding that emerged out of pre-prohibition it was like alcohol was illegal, right? And when it was illegal, there was still all the demand for it. So there was a black market. And then when they legalized it, the black market took over the legal market. So it's very mob-like, right? They've got their extreme control around the liquor industry. And if you're a liquor brand, there's only a handful of distributors that you have to go kind of bend the knee to in order to get distro. And cannabis, under the 2018 Federal Farm Bill, is a true free market, and they can't compete with it. And they don't get paid every step of the way because we can make it in our own commercial kitchen, truck it to our own warehouse, and ship it directly to customers who order it online or come into our shop and buy it. And we don't have to go through all their red tape that they set up to control the distribution of these types of products.
So I can't get over the idea that even if you tax this plant, I mean, it would bring in a lot of money. Why don't politicians see that as well?
So it's my belief that we have, I don't know if it's the majority. I don't know if it's a minority. I don't know if it's like a small amount of politicians that are just in really powerful roles, but some of our representatives are completely captured by these lobby groups that finance their campaigns. So the distributors and the pharmaceutical companies that finance the campaigns and then deploy the lobbyists to educate them on things like hemp, they're demonizing hemp and conflating it with illegal synthetic gas station drugs that are currently being labeled as hemp because there's not enough regulation to prevent them from doing that. When if any reasonable person would look at the situation and be like, yeah, adults should be able to use clean, reasonably dosed cannabis products. It's insane to say that they can't. Everybody would say that. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, every reasonable person would also say, well, let's also include safety precautions to do our best to keep these out of the hands of children, right? So child-resistant packaging and age gating,
which is also can be adult resistant packaging. I've had my issues too.
Yes, totally. And so there is like the problem with like thinking about politics logically is that they're not logical. These politicians, these corrupt politicians are concerned about the checks that they're getting from the lobby groups, not tax dollars that they can use for the betterment of the public. That being said, throughout this process and just kind of observing these hearings, there do seem to be some representatives that actually care. And particularly in the House of Representatives, when this bill was being reviewed in the House, that panel, for the most part, was very engaged. They were super humble in their lack of understanding of cannabis in general and the current situation. And they were asking a bunch of good, nuanced questions. So that was encouraging to see. But you have politicians like Dan Patrick who are, you just got to go like listen to him talk, but
he seems like a swell guy.
Yeah. It's just, he is just if I had to put money on it, I don't know for sure, but if I had to put money on it, I would bet a lot of money that his motivations for promoting SB3 are coming from the beer distributors and the pathetic medical marijuana program that we have that is criminally restrictive and makes subpar products that are like 3 times the price of what they should be.
Now, I think one of the major, well, I'll play devil's advocate, but marijuana and THC products, it's a slippery slope to other drugs. Is it not?
I mean, I think everybody is unique, right? And so I don't think that cannabis is some special drug that has no potential for abuse. And there are certainly tons of people out there who are using cannabis just like people use alcohol or Xanax or any of these other things that we use to, what I believe is we're using those to numb unresolved trauma. And the proper use of something that's truly medicinal like cannabis is to use it to numb the trauma just long enough to where you can work through it and resolve it. And then once it's resolved, you don't need it anymore. So a real medicine isn't like take this every day for the rest of your life. It's take this now so you can like, it can help you balance and align yourself just enough to where you can go to therapy and you can start eating better and exercise, like do all the things, all the therapeutic things, and do the introspective work to figure out the root cause of why do I get anxious when money comes up? Why do I get anxious when blah, blah, blah? Why do I get angry when my wife says X, Y, and Z to me, right? It's like that, like that's, those negative emotions are fucking trapped memories. And that shit is so real. And I didn't personally, this is my, through my firsthand experience working with therapy and like releasing this stuff and having it no longer affect me like it did. It's real. And I discovered it. I've been on a long journey of trying to figure out essentially how to be the best version of myself that I could possibly be. And it's like eventually led me to actual therapy. And, that like opened my eyes to like, oh, there's all these different therapeutic modalities, like exercise isn't going to, it's not going to heal you. Working out every single day is not going to heal you, but working out regularly and doing it mindfully and trying to wake up all of the different parts of your body that are sleeping so that your whole system can heal itself is really like the way to think about all of these things. It's like we heal ourselves is what I've concluded. Like the only thing that's capable of healing me is me, and it's getting over these emotional blocks that trip me up, you know.
Now, you're a father of 3, correct?
I am, yes.
Okay. When I was growing up, parents always said, "Don't ever smoke weed. Don't ever smoke weed." It was like every time my dad dropped me off in middle school in Alpine, Texas, he was like, "Don't smoke weed." And I'm like, "Okay, Dad, fine. I'm not going to do that." But he never really said don't drink alcohol the way he said don't smoke weed.
Because weed's a drug.
Right. And well, as I've gotten older, the repercussions of overdoing it on the alcohol level is pretty severe. I mean, it takes me a full day, maybe two. Those 1 beer nights certainly have a hefty toll on me the next day. But when I overconsume THC, I'm fine the next morning.
Yeah,
so,
it depends on the type of product you're using,
sure.
how much you're using. I mean, if you're smoking dabs, something I've never done, and wouldn't recommend
fun from the videos that I watched.
I mean, unless you're like a terminally ill cancer patient,
right?
You know, it's like you probably. It's like anything else. It's the dose makes the poison,
sure.
Right? So if you take the right amount, we're really big. Our gummies are 8 milligrams per gummy, which is actually probably too strong for a lot of people. But it's dialed back from your standard 10 milligram dispensary gummy. But we always tell people, like, if you don't know what 8 milligrams of THC means, like, take half or even take a quarter. Some people are like, I take a quarter and it's perfect. It just chills me out just a little bit, right? And so the difference between getting the dose right and getting the dose wrong is everything.
Now, the question that I was going to ask you is, how do you explain marijuana to your children?
I talk to my children like they are just little humans that haven't been here very long.
Okay.
And so I am just honest with them. I explain them what all drugs are and what alcohol is, and that there's, reasons why children shouldn't use these things. And there is certain drugs and substances that I personally think should just be avoided forever. And I don't think that there's any redeeming value in them. And then there are others that, if used responsibly for the right reasons with the right intentions, can have profound benefits, but those same things could also be abused. And so, it's just, I think that kids understand a lot more than like previous generations of parents, or maybe even some parents today give them credit for. And the more you talk to them, like, they're just like, they're not idiots, and they just don't know as much as you. It's like they get it, and even if they don't fully get it, they get it enough. And this is something I learned. Like, my dad was both my parents were really good at answering questions and explaining things to me, and then would also just explain things to death sometimes, where it'd be like, I'm not even listening, but I still was on some level, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, him telling me not to smoke weed worked all the way up until like my third year of college. And then one night I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot. But
did it make you paranoid, or did you enjoy it?
No, it made me really relaxed. And then I got a really high, like, level of anxiety that I thought, the cops are coming. I hear my hair growing. My organs aren't working right now. And then after that, it was just like, all right, let's go get some Taco Bell. Let's have some fun.
That sounds like a classic first cannabis experience.
Yeah. And even now, I still get a little hit of that anxiety, but it makes me realize how finite life is, and I go really introspectively. I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna die someday, but that doesn't mean we can't have a good life and be good to other people. So, in my ritual, it's always like there's that moment of anxiety, but then after that there's like appreciation of what I have. And so another question I wanted to ask is, so the brewery industry right now is kind of taking a hit. Some places are closing, but people say it's a leveling out of the explosion that happened here in the brewery scene.
Totally.
So they have to deal with distributors as well, but within that community, I saw a lot of good things happening in that breweries were helping out other breweries, especially Nomadic Beer Works. They were like, hey, we have extra growlers, and they were handing them out to other breweries in need. Do you think there is some sort of, do you think that type of environment could happen here in Texas when it comes to dispensaries or producers of hemp and marijuana?
Totally. Yeah. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but pretty much every brewery I see now is making a THC beverage.
Yeah.
So I think
because the demand is there.
Yeah. I mean, it's beer 2.0, and that's what the distributors are so terrified of. Like, the brands are good entrepreneurs, they're like, those are good people, and they've been making beer, and a lot of them are also now making THC beverages, and they want to be able to do that, right? Because it's what do the people like? They're trying to create a nice, relaxing environment for people to come to and enjoy themselves. And
right.
if there's a percentage of their clientele who would prefer a THC beverage, like they want to be able to offer that, right?
Yeah, or even non-alcoholic.
Yeah,
you know,
so like
more and more people are not drinking.
Yeah, I don't like any type of negativity directed at the beer industry. It's the distributors, not the breweries.
And so, in that question, do you think there is would there be a partnership, or is that just giving into like bending the knee to this almighty distributor that needs to be involved to make their margins and make their ROI?
Right now we make 3 strain specific gummy flavors. So we don't even have a beverage, so we're not competing in that space yet. Right. It's definitely something on our radar, but we also just take the approach of like, there's no hurry. You know, I'm like, we started this with t-shirts and hats, the most saturated market possible. Right. So there's actually advantage to kind of seeing how the landscape plays out, seeing how the regulations play out, and then trying to figure out where we could uniquely fit in the beverage space. Like, I don't want to just go make another seltzer because that's a hot thing right now, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I would want to figure out what's missing from the landscape of beverages that would make sense for the Chill Country brand to fill. And in the meantime, we're just focused on these gummies. So the strategy for the gummies is selling them online on chillcountry.com, and then through a bunch of independent retailers, and then also through there are all sorts of different types of distributors. Mm-hmm. So there are certain distributors that we can work with to get the product to a lot of retail spots. So that's
okay. But how do you satisfy these lords of distributors that are fearful of you? What do you just? We just don't make more money than right okay, all right, yeah. But since what I'm getting at is, since they are paying the lobbyists to do their bidding, mm-hmm. like how do you counteract that? Put the power to the people.
The only active thing that I have determined I can do is make content explaining my perspective on it, fair. And luckily that content's getting a lot of action, like particularly on TikTok and Reddit. It's, millions of views since we started chopping up this content and talking about it, which I have no idea if that's going to actually help affect things, but at least a lot more people are aware. And maybe the 2026 election, we can get rid of Dan Patrick and some of these other people that are just roadblocks from real legitimate legislation that actually helps people.
He's a linger who deserves the snickle fritz.
He's got to go. Ban Dan 2026.
Oh, that's a good. You heard it here, folks. So with all this things happening from a legislative process, are you fearful of anything that is going to impact your company? Are you scared like you were when TFM ended?
No, that like the thing, and I say this not to come off like braggadocious, but like that's that kind of existential fear is gone.
Okay.
Like, I experienced such a high level of it, and then it smashed me into the ground, and then I was like, basically like, oh, I'm dead. And I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm not dead. It was a non-psychedelic ego death, which I've also had the psychedelic variety brother, as well.
I had my ego death in college, and that changed everything.
And it's even in the beginning of this, I was fearful about a lot of things, but like I said, I had this like rock solid North Star that was still a little ambiguous, but it just kept me from veering things too far off track. And then that North Star has gotten more and more clear. So like first sessions was the clarity.
Yeah.
The political stuff honestly has been even more clarity to like how we have a really, really clear idea, and we're all in total lockstep with this idea about what it is we're trying to accomplish at the highest level. And that keeps me and everybody else like endlessly motivated, and also endlessly in this state of like, well, what we're doing is, we know what we're doing, and we're either going to do it with these resources and this strategy, or a different set of resources and a different strategy. But like, we can sell gummies here, we can't, whatever, like there's always moves, right? And so that gives me this ultimate piece where it's like, I know what I'm doing. I know I believe what I'm doing is good, and has the potential to help a lot of people. And I'm going to do that no matter what. So make the rules and we'll adjust if we have to.
A few more questions as we're well over an hour and I want to be respectful of your time. One of the most controversial things that I saw on your Instagram page that really irked me was that you went to this little pizza place out in Marfa, Texas. And I have my own feelings about that pizza place, but what was your experience like there?
It was good pizza.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a pizza, really good pizza.
Was the customer
place.
Service okay?
Probably not. I don't really remember.
All right. So what I was alluding to is there's this place called Pizza Foundation out in Marfa, Texas, and I grew up in Alpine. So
sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
nice.
I grew up there, and when we would go to this place, it's just the owners were like just being a bunch of dicks. Like they no customer service whatsoever.
I understand if you live there, the annoyance. Like if you're just like grateful you can get delicious pizza in the desert.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
That's what our mindset was like. Oh man, we'll make a trip on our busy Friday night in a small West Texas town. We'll get some pizza, and the guy was just a dick. And I'm like, it's got to be because we're from Alpine, because there's a rivalry there. At least there once was. And then I met my wife, and through our dating process, we talked about where we went, and she talked about going to Marfa, Texas, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's this. What are your thoughts on it? And she goes, we went to this pizza place and they were just so rude to us and like we're just trying to get pizza. I'm like, yes, that's it. Fuck. So I was just and I've heard other people that I've met had the same experience.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't that was a while ago.
Okay.
I don't remember the specifics, but I do remember it was good pizza.
Well, okay. And shockingly they closed.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. Oh no. Shocking. I wonder why. But anyways, okay. Now that was just something cool that I thought because I saw this time. Oh, that's
cool.
Nice.
Yeah, my parents bought a little place in Marathon, Texas.
Oh yeah.
Years and years ago.
Okay.
And that's now kind of like they've got a little condo here, and then they go to West Texas, spend like half and half time. So we have a place where like me and we've done several trips out there, me and the guys that I've been working on with this to shoot content and just like use it as an excuse to go have a fun West Texas
it's
trip.
A beautiful place.
So
I didn't know how good I had it until I left, and now it's like, all right, we'll make a pilgrimage over there just to catch some sunsets, go down to Terlingua and see the stars down there.
See the stars, dude.
Man,
yeah.
It's quite an experience.
It's so hard to see the stars.
It is. And also we've traveled down to the Big Bend area with some substances that are, quite illegal. And our number one rule is when we tell new people that we go out there with, like, hey, whatever you take out there, you leave out there. You either burn it and dump it, or you're not bringing it back.
Yeah.
And one of our friend of a friend decided to not listen to us.
Oh, no.
And in the caravan, I wasn't in the car, but they were in the car behind us. They got stopped and they found the product. And I'm like, what did we just tell you? Like, we literally told you to just leave it behind. It's like not even worth bringing that shit back over the through that check border station.
I've heard that.
So viewers, if you go, just leave it over there, burn it over there. Anything else you want to add? This has been really insightful. I'm so glad you came.
Dude, no, that was awesome.
All your things you want.
I didn't really have any objective. There's like a bunch of things that are just circling around my brain that I feel right now compelled to talk about. So this is like the third podcast I've done in the last couple weeks. I'm experimenting, and I really appreciate it because this is helping me practice, like articulate my thoughts and
I'm just thankful you said yes to a stranger DMing you on Instagram and like, hey, come on over. But I knew through, West Texas Exiles. I'm if you worked with them, then he's got to be a good dude.
When I looked at your stuff, first of all, it all looks awesome. Video works is beautiful.
Appreciate it.
And then the podcast, I just kept seeing like artists that we've recorded with, and I was like, all right, well, this guy has got to be good company. Yeah,
this has slowly turned the whole thing is about interviewing interesting people in interesting industries, and turns out musicians have a lot of free time during the day. So whenever, and I always want to have conversations with them after the show, but it's just so hard to do. So why not just bring them on this couch and shoot the shit and find out a little bit more about the music industry in Austin, Texas, how I can help them, how they can help me, and vice versa, and just have a beer and you're somewhat music adjacent, so I haven't diverged.
Yes.
I think the next episode I'm gonna have a tattoo artist, so that'll be
everything's
separate
the same
from.
though is the thing.
Yes,
So,
it pretty much is.
like,
What I'm
yeah.
finding out between the music industry and just any professional industry, you just have to put in the work. You have to be smart about it. You have to save your money, and you just have to budget everything. Budget your time, finances, and you have. And the most important thing is you have to have a belief in yourself.
Totally. Yeah. Meeting so many independent artists over the last year. The thing that I realized pretty quickly was like, oh, a modern independent artist with the internet and social media and streaming, they're just entrepreneurs whose skill is music. Mm-hmm. It's like if their skill was design, they'd make something like I was making.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and that's what that means though is there's more opportunity now than ever for musicians to build the entrepreneurial muscle of essentially figure out everything yourself, do everything yourself is I think the core quality of a successful entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. The ones who are doing that are crushing it. Yep. And it's not like there is still this like fantasy belief that I pick up from artists here and there where it's like, you just have to be so good that someone's going to come sweep you off your feet. Or there's this like hope of like, I don't want to market myself. And it's like, I mean, it's just another opportunity to figure out how do you do it creatively. Yep. Right. It's like the whole thing is an art project. It's like the music, the writing and performing is the core part of the art, but like build the whole fucking structure that then delivers your music to the most people.
Yep.
And gets them sucked into, but again, it like comes to like, I don't know. It's like your music also has to be super truthful, right? And there's varying degrees of that out there. And it's got to be, you can't be trying to make something because you think there's a market for it. You got to be making only the thing that you are uniquely qualified to make. Yeah,
authenticity really sells, in my opinion, and with some of the artists that I work with, and also some of the businesses I work with.
I just think it's what everybody craves, and I think with the emergence of AI being able to make all sorts of like captivating fake stuff, that the real human-made stuff there's going to be a stronger and stronger craving for it. And so, in my opinion, now is the time to lean into the things that make you unique, which oftentimes are the weird, uncomfortable things that you have to like work through some trauma to gain access to.
Yeah. I like to think of running a business as like, at least from my end, like, did anyone die because I made a terrible video or I got an out of focus photo? No. All right, then Ramon, you can do better the next day. So just keep that in the back of your head.
Yes.
Well, Madison, I can't thank you enough. Anything else?
Dude, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a sweet setup.
All right. Well,
appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, bud. All right, cool. Thank you. All right, America. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I hope you got something out of it. Madison, I can't thank you enough, dude, for coming, for answering a stranger's DMs and coming into my garage to talk about your life, talk about your businesses. And so thank you again for not only your time, but for also the work that you're doing in supporting our rights. So without further ado, this intro outro has gone on for way too long. But anyways, thank you. God bless.